going to give an overview of a Cora SEO report and how it can help you, and just explain how the report works, what all the tabs are, and how to get the best value out of a Cora report. So I'm starting off on the roadmap tab, and this is the most important tab in a Cora report. It basically shows you what you need to do, what improvements you need to make to help your page rank better. So this is kind of where you want to start. So before I get into it, I'll explain how Cora works and how it builds up this roadmap and how it figures out what all these most important factors are, and yeah, how it gathers all this information. So the first thing to note is my search term for this Cora report was AdWords Perth. And what Cora does is it takes that search term and then it finds what it calls match words. And these are all the words that Google bolds in its search results. So from AdWords Perth, you get a whole bunch of different variations, I guess. So Cora thinks of match words as keywords. So any factor that says keywords in sentences is really any one of these different match words. So that's a key kind of thing to know about Cora in terms of keywords or any of these match words, whereas a search term is your exact AdWords Perth. So that's a search term for Cora. So some of these factors may mention a search term. It doesn't look like there's anything in this roadmap that mentions a search term, but search term is certainly a factor that comes up in Cora reports, but it's just not coming up in this report. And I'll tell you why in a second. So this overview tab's where all the heavy lifting and data gathering kind of occurs, and this kind of statistical analysis happens, which determines what the most important factors are. So Cora uses two different types of statistical analysis. It uses Spearman's and Pearson's, and it combines them together, and it calls that best of both correlation. So it then ranks the strength of the correlation from the strongest down. So in this particular report, keywords and sentences was the strongest correlating factor, and then second is keywords and p tags. So you know, if I go down the page here, you can see that in total there's 559 factors, but a significant amount of them have been hidden. So all the ones that are hidden are the ones that show a null hypothesis, i.e. when you do your statistical analysis, that they're not like indicating that there's any kind of factor there. So the orange ones are, you know, it's not random. The coin is rigged. These are the factors that are having an effect on rankings. Whereas if you get ones in blue, that's just interesting, but it still favors a null hypothesis. So, you know, all the factors are shown here, and then you get the best of both by page, which this is either one or the other of these two types of statistical analysis. What was the highest kind of correlation that came out? So that's where you can get some items that we've got here in orange that were strongly correlating with one of these statistical analysis, but with the other it wasn't. So, you know, combined together it's blue, but we still show them because you know, one of them showed a strong correlation. So then if you look at the report, it's got a page one average, and then it's got the first, second, third result, and then it hides all the other results and shows your result in the fourth spot there, and that's so that you can easily compare yourself to the top three and the page one average. Now, Cora has a number of different strategies to work out, what you need to do to improve, but the one that Ted recommends is practical maximum. So what practical maximum is it's either the first, it's the highest result in the top 3 or the page one average. So if you look at this keywords and sentences, this site here in the number 3rd position had 46. So that becomes your maximum. So that's the practical maximum there, 46. My site only had 35, so I've got a deficit of 11. So then all the deficits transfer onto the roadmap. So that's how this roadmap gets built up. So keywords and sentences, I needed to add 11 more, and that's coming from here. If I don't have a deficit, like I've got more keywords and p tags than this 3rd result here or any of the other results, therefore I don't have a deficit, and therefore that factor doesn't transfer over to the roadmap. So that's how the roadmap gets built up, and it's in the order of the strength of correlation. So you really want to start at the top and work your way down. And then the other thing to note with the roadmap is the items highlighted in yellow are factors that are considered to be, I guess, easy to implement or things that you can implement right away. So typically it's kind of on-page factors like your heading tags or your content. So one other thing to note about the overview tab is you can click on any of these factors, and it should open up a definition where you can you can read what this factor means and figure out what Cora is actually looking at. So yeah, those are the 2 most important tabs in my opinion, is the roadmap and the overview. Now in Cora 4, there are a bunch of new tabs. 2 of them is this basic tuning and intermediate tuning. So but both of these tabs, basically what's happening in them is Cora is comparing every single factor to how you're doing and giving you a score. So a lot of these items actually don't necessarily correlate or not showing strong correlation. So if you go back to the overview tab, they're actually getting hidden in here. So when you get a Cora report, it's really these 2 tabs, the way Ted describes them is if you get a roadmap back and you've only got like 4 or 5 items, and so there's not much that you can actually do in terms of what's correlating and what's showing up as a deficit, then you can dive into the basic and intermediate tuning tabs and start fixing some of the factors that are coming up within these 2 tabs. So the advice really is to start on the roadmap and work your way down. And then if you get to a point where you've either implemented all of this and you're still not ranking number 1, then you can go into the basic and intermediate tuning tabs. Or if the roadmap comes back and it's only a handful of items, then you can start going into basic and intermediate tunings. So there's a charts tab which shows each factor graphically. I don't tend to use the charts tab a lot. The top words just shows your match words, and I will remind you that match words are any of these words, and these are the words that Google bolded in their search results. So the match words get highlighted in here, and it shows you how many times this site used AdWords or used Perth on the page. So you can kind of compare how your page is doing compared to the top pages in here. This tab is a keyword density tab, so you can kind of compare. And I'm over here. My keyword density is 4.12 and 8.7. Yeah, so 4.2 looks like it's okay. The second site here has got 7, so maybe I can still even get more matches on my page to increase my density even more, to be more competitive, and to get an edge on some of these other sites here. So the difference between clean word count and clean density and raw word count and raw density is clean is just within your body tag, whereas raw is in the entire HTML. And so there's a whole bunch of information that Cora pulls out on keyword densities. Then LSI, so this is also ordered in terms of the strength of correlation. So Cora goes through and actually correlates the words on the page and gives you the best of both. So in theory, of Google and S search are the strongest correlating words on the page. And so it uses the same kind of methodology and gives you a deficit. So you'd want to go through and go of Google 3 more times on my page. So this doesn't distinguish between words, so it doesn't try and strip out words like where or to get or you only, for example, or who. So you can use your discretion to ignore the ones that you don't think are going to move the needle. And then it gives all the results. So, all the different URLs, all their titles, what the actual URL was. So, a lot of these are inner pages, and then the meta description as well. So what I typically do when I get a Cora report is I typically make a copy of the roadmap. So I get my copy of my roadmap, and then I go, and then I start going through, from the top down. Keywords and sentences, it's telling me I need to add 11 more. So I go back and I go, keywords and sentences, I've got 35, top ranking site's got 25, 24. Dilate's got 46. The page one average is 27. So you know what? I actually might decide, I've actually got enough here. I've got more than the page one average and the first second result. It's just this one here is got a lot more. So I'll go through and go, not necessary. Number of Facebook accounts, number of Facebook accounts. Dilate's got 4 Facebook accounts. So, and I've got none. So really, I want to at least add 1. But you can always go into these pages and see how's this guy getting 4 Facebook accounts, for example. So I might want to do that. So there's a Facebook account up there. There's another Facebook account there. Yes, I don't know where all the Facebook accounts are coming up. You know, you could go through, I guess, and search the source code. But yeah, it just seems like a couple of instances of the, you know, the Facebook kind of things on the page. So yeah, I'd consider adding a couple of social icons to my site. Keywords and section tags. So once again, they've got 41. So I've got no section tags on my site. So yeah, that's in the, I guess that's in the HTML using a section tag. So, you know, I might want to click on here and see what section tags is. So tags, section tags. So yeah, it's just adding this section, these section tags to my site. So yeah, just adding the section tags to my page will automatically probably get me 35, because it should correlate almost quite closely with the keywords and sentences. So, you know, just making that simple change would get me that factor. So leading keywords in H1. So leading keyword is just having any of, and remember, keywords are any of these match words. So just having AdWords or AdWords Perth or Perth or Perths as the first word within my H1. So Instagram pages, once again, it's just having a link to Instagram. Keywords in H1 to H6 tags. So add 8 more. So what I like to do is I like to go to the page I'm looking at. And then I like to go into SEO Quake and look at the headings. And it's amazing how many times you find an empty heading on pages, which is obviously not great practice. So you want to find those and sort them out. So I tend to go in and copy and paste in the headings, and then here, if I need 8 more, why Google AdWords advertising? Google Ad. More online advertising options. So more. So maybe I want to say more AdWords online advertising options. Google AdWords display network. YouTube video ads on AdWords. Yeah, you see how you can play around with your headings and start getting more keywords into your headings. So really, keywords in H1, H2, H3. I've only got H1, H2, H3, so just those few changes I made already will likely to get me those deficits. Number of sentences, so just adding a bit more content. So once again, I might want to go into here and go number of sentences. I've got 66. So it's just this dial 8 again that's got more. So I'd probably end up deciding that I didn't need to add any more here, since I'm beating both the first, second, and page one average. Schema, so adding schema to the page. Okay, so it looks like having reviews within your schema on your page is is correlating. So that definitely helps your listing stand out in the search results, and it looks like a lot of these sites are doing it, so that's something you'd want to add. Leading keywords in H1, H2, H3. So a lot of these kind of end up repeating and are fairly similar. So yeah, I guess that kind of explains Cora and these Cora reports, and how to go through the roadmap, and how to start figuring out what you need to implement to improve the ranking of your pages. So typically, what my services are either I'll just provide you with this report, and you can go through and figure everything out yourself, or I can run the report for you, and then I can go through and make a video very much like the video I'm making now, where I actually just clone this roadmap, and I go through and I explain each of these factors, and put a comment. So I might say here, not necessary, because only one site has more than you. So no, it saves you all the time of going through and figuring out all of this stuff yourself. And what I also tend to do is to just delete the ones that you can't really change. So yeah, that's what I do with my video explanation for your particular keyword. And then the done for you services is as you saw me rewriting these headings, for example. That's what I kind of do in the done for you services. Now, the done for you services, I tend to only make changes on things that I could actually make the change for you, like changing headlines, giving you schema to put on your page, getting keywords, for example, into your page's most used phrase. So typically it's on page things that I can help with. I like word count, for example, I wouldn't do, because I don't want to add, I don't want to write content for you that you may not like. So I tend to stick away from that and just focus on, titles and metas. So your meta title, your meta description, your open graph, so your Facebook and your Twitter titles and descriptions, your keywords in your heading tags, keywords on the page. So I certainly can go through and add keywords within the content. I will go through and add LSI words to the page as well. I do create schema for the page, as long as it's available. And what I mean by that, as long as if you have ratings, then I can go through and create or reviews, then I can go through and create the schema for you. If you don't have any reviews, then I can't create that particular type of schema for you. Yeah, so I guess I can make kind of those type of changes for you. The changes that I can't usually do is something like adding a Facebook account, for example, or or building backlinks, or adding word count. So those are the things, or adding links, internal links to the page. So those are the ones I tend to stick away from. But yeah, those are the three services I offer. I hope you found this kind of tutorial of how to use Cora SEO useful, and thanks for listening.